Hello everyone and welcome to the latest edition of This Racing Life. It's the second week of July, which means this week we're focusing on all things of the July Festival, some past, some present and a little bit of what's to come.
Clearly I'm biased, but I can't think of anything better to do next Thursday, Friday and Saturday.
They walked for 3 furlongs and sprinted for 2. It was a first start, but she stayed on good and showed lots of promise.
Back in 1992, I think it started with 2 horses and gradually crept up to 3, 4, advertising, trying to get people involved.
You know, it's one thing to be fit from here down, but you know, if your head's a bit messed up, that isn't great also.
The July meeting dates back to the mid-1700s and remains one of the pillars of the flat season. Top-class racing is assured, but there's more to the event than that, as Amy Starkey, a regional director for the Jockey Club, explains.
This will be my 8th Moet et Chandon July Festival, and it's been an amazing 7.5 years here at Newmarket Racecourses for Jockey Club Racecourses, and the July Festival itself is one of my personal favourites. 3 fantastic days racing where racing meets summer, meets fashion, meets the sales at Tattersalls in town, and the whole town of Newmarket and the racing industry really gets behind 3 fantastic days of racing here on the July course, and where better to be on a summer's day than here at the July course at Newmarket Racecourses.
What changes can punters expect who are paying the money to come through the door?
Yeah, so we've got over £1.6 million worth of prize money on offer across the 3 days for this year's Moet et Chandon July Festival. We've introduced new races, so with our betting partner Bet365, we've introduced the Bet365 Trophy, a race to replace the Silver Bunbury Cup on Saturday over 1 mile and 6, so perfect for stayers.
Trainers have received it well, haven't they?
Yeah, it's been really well received by horsemen, by our industry, and clearly as HQ, as the home of horse racing, as Newmarket, you know, we don't act as a racecourse in isolation. We very much work with the industry, with our horsemen, with our trainers, to create, to programme races that suit the needs of our industry. We are the Jockey Club, we exist for the good of British racing, we're a commercial business facilitating reinvestment back into the sport that we love. That goes alongside the 2 Group 1s that we stage, the Darley July Cup worth cool £500,000 on Saturday, and the Tattersalls Falmouth Stakes on Friday. So alongside great racing, we've got the great days of fashion. So Best Dressed Lady on Ladies' Day, which is Thursday. Feel Good Friday is all about the gents putting on their finery, and Saturday is about Best Dressed Couple. And one of the new exciting fashion elements that we've introduced this year is a Milliner Award, or a Milliner Prize, which will be open to all ladies donning their finest headpieces on Ladies' Day this year, which is the Thursday, the opening day of this year's Moet et Chandon July Festival.
Has it been a goal of Newmarket over the last years to solidify this event into the summer social season?
Yeah, we've shown real growth here at Newmarket Racecourses across the board, across all of our race days, particularly here at the July Festival. We're increasing our prize money, we're increasing our customer experience, that what we deliver to our customers in terms of that experience, and that's generating more and more people coming racing, whether that be just a general admission ticket, so just in and around the enclosures, or in our restaurants and our hospitality. So the team have just done an amazing job in really lifting the July Festival, and I guess what we love about the July Festival is that it's relaxed. It's almost like an English garden party, and there is no better place to be than the July course on a summer's day. So I would just encourage anybody that is looking for something to do next Thursday, Friday or Saturday to come and enjoy the English summertime in no better location than here on the July course at Newmarket Racecourses.
Is that a statement of intent from Newmarket? Could you say you're constantly looking to upgrade the event year on year to make it the best possible event that it can be?
Oh, without a doubt, you know, and I don't think that's just a statement of intent from Newmarket Racecourses. I think that's a statement of intent for the Jockey Club and for the industry. You know, we cannot, you know, the industry faces challenges, and as racecourses, as an industry, we all need to work together to, you know, beat those challenges, and anything that we can do to increase the popularity of our sport, you know, more admission income, means more investment in prize money. So, you know, we all have a vested interest in delivering great experiences to our customers, generating as many customers as possible, giving them a great time to ensure that that they return and that we can invest that money back into our sport. The thing that I love about the July course, and actually the thing that I love about racing, is if you're sitting at home on a Saturday and you think, what am I going to do today? No matter what guise you want to go and enjoy a day out, the July course, Newmarket Racecourses, racing in general, just offers a great day out in whatever form you want that day out to take. So whether that's a day with the family, you know, our family enclosure with the play area down on the July course, I would say is the best racecourse enclosure in the UK for families, and the offer that we have down there. Whether you're coming with a group of friends, whether you're a racing enthusiast and want to see, you know, great racing, whether you're, you know, coming with your friends and want to enjoy the fashion, or, you know, just want to enjoy a boys' day out, or you want to come and have a family treat and a meal. There are so many different ways in which you can enjoy this sport. It's you know, not expensive. You know, tickets are as little as £15, and children under 18 go free. So it's not expensive. It's got great theatre, great atmosphere, and I think if somebody, you know, if I was looking for that sway decision, I'd say come to the July course, go into the pre-parade ring, you know, stand, watch the horses, take a moment, absorb the atmosphere, absorb the sport, and then go out the front and feel the horses' hooves thunder past you. You know, I know I'm biased. Clearly I'm biased, but I can't think of anything better to do next Thursday, Friday and Saturday.
And while preparations at the racecourse go into overdrive, the finishing touches are also being put in place for the trainers. David Simcock explains the festival has more of a relaxed feel to it when the horse box doesn't have to see a motorway.
It's on home soil, obviously, so there's no travelling, which is always nice. It's a time when the town becomes very busy. Lots of owners come into town, and there's a good feel-good factor about it, and it's, you know, it's a wonderful festival.
Does it mean more for a Newmarket trainer to have a winner there, or is that something that we build up in the media?
You probably build that up a little bit, but listen, winning the July Cup, this Premier Sprint in Europe, that was very special, very special. Seems a long time ago now.
Well, you have a few chances coming up this year. A Spanish Mission is heading to the Bahrain Trophy. How would you assess his run so far this season?
He looks progressive. He won a conditions race over 1.25 miles last year. The management wanted to drop him back to 1 mile and see what he would do. We pretty much knew it would be too sharp for him early doors, and then we had the plan to go to the Cocked Hat at Goodwood over 1.3 miles, and we knew it would suit. He'd been training well, and he duly ran very well, and just got done on the line.
And he was held up that day. Would that be seeing him to best effect, do you think, going forward, or would you be tactically versatile with him?
I think he'll become tactically versatile. I don't think he'll change a lot at the moment. He was a horse that came from the breeze-ups. He was a little fiery when he arrived, but he's learned to settle very, very well. Very straightforward horse, lovely horse to train.
When you have a potential stayer like that who has come through the breeze-up route, is there a lot of work that you have to do with them that you maybe wouldn't have to do with a horse who has just come up the, say, perceived normal route?
It's unusual you get a sort of really a middle distance horse from the breeze-ups. They tend to be, they're trained for one day, so they tend to be a little sharper. They know a little bit too much about the game, and they tend to be speed horses. So he bucks the trend slightly, but you know, he's by Noble Mission. There's stamina on the dam side, so you know, you very much quickly knew that he wasn't a quick horse, and you know, in that respect, you know, we trained him like a middle distance horse, if you like.
And when we see an entry for the Bahrain Trophy, everyone immediately jumps to the conclusion that the St Ledger might be in consideration if all goes to plan. Would that be the case?
At this stage of his career, I don't think he's probably good enough for a St Ledger. You know, we've got plans after this, win, lose or draw, and then they're quite exciting plans. You know, you probably head to Goodwood, and then he might head to Belmont for $1 million race in September. So that's the route we're taking, and that will probably be his season. And the Bahrain Trophy is just a stepping stone.
What conditions would see him to best effect, do you think?
Listen, he's relatively adaptable. I wouldn't want it too soft. I don't think we'll get that. He handles fast ground very well, trains well on good ground. So no, as long as it doesn't come up soft, we'd be happy.
Another horse is Woven. He's run twice this season so far. How have you assessed him back in the UK?
We were obviously very pleased with his first run in Dubai when he was second, and then for different reasons he didn't run so well. He's had 2 runs, one at Chelmsford over a mile and the other day over 7 furlongs in Newcastle, and he's acquitted himself well. He ran very well and just faded last half furlong. He's a horse I think is getting quicker, and we're dropping down the furlongs, if you like, and he heads to Newmarket for the valuable 6 furlong 3-year-old handicap, and we think it'll suit him. You know, with racing he's got quicker, he's got sharper. He's always been a very good workhorse, and he's got a mixed pedigree. He's by Dutch Art out of a mare that won over 10 furlongs, so we were weighing up what is his right trip, no, we'll certainly try 6 furlongs for the first time since his debut, and I think it'll really suit him.
What would be your ideal scenario in that race for him?
I think he's very adaptable how you ride him. We're ridden him from the front, midfield and at the back, so you know, I'll leave that to the jockey. He'll get a feel for how fast they're going or whatever, and the likelihood is first try over 6, there'll be courses quicker than him from the gate, so we'll be taking a sit in and riding a race, and again it'll be a case of if he's quick enough.
And arguably your best chance on known form at the moment is your 2-year-old filly Breeding Brie, who collateral form in recent weeks. You must have been quite pleased with what happened on the July course last weekend with Summer Romance.
Yeah, you like to see form upheld. She was second to her at Yarmouth on her debut in a non-event, really. They walked for 3 furlongs and sprinted for 2. And listen, we were a well-beaten second. It was her first start, but she stayed on good and showed lots of promise. I've no doubt Summer Romance is a better filly than her, and considerably better filly than her. But she looked good Saturday, and we were happy with the progress we made from race 1 to 2, and hopefully with a bit more improvement from race 2 to 3, it'll be interesting.
Definite progress from run 1 to 2. She still looked a little bit green at Brighton. Do you think she's still learning about the game going forward?
I'd like to think so. You know, with all these horses, there's a certain amount of natural progression, whether it's at 2, whether it's later on. She will have learnt. She's definitely training sharper. She's done very well for the last run, and no, we're sticking her in at the deep end. Listen, she won a Brighton maiden at the end of the day, but we're sticking her at the deep end, and it'll be interesting to see.
Sometimes you don't have to spend a packet to make one, as Soviet Song proved for the Elite Racing Club. Back-to-back successes in the Falmouth Stakes launched the club to new heights, which continue to go higher still after more recent success with Marcia. The sale of the latter gave them the capital to buy Greenland's Farm, and the hope is that more success will be forthcoming.
So this is where we have horses that may be injured or need some sort of rehabilitation, or horses just on holiday. They'll come here, have a nice break, and then hopefully we'll send them back into training in good shape.
We're going to talk about the great years with Elite Racing Club. 1992, we go back a while. I'm sure so much has changed over the 25 years.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was a sort of small beginnings, obviously, and a dream of one man, and suddenly sort of exploded into something quite extraordinary, really. But back in 1992, I think it started with 2 horses and gradually crept up to 3, 4. Advertising, trying to get people involved, and then I suppose the big turning point really commercially was when the club bought My Sylve. She just won the Triumph Hurdle for David Nicholson, and we bought her at the sales for what at the time it was a world record for a national hunt horse in training, and she really sort of ignited the whole thing and got the sort of public interest going, and yeah, it was very special from that moment on, really.
So initially jumping
Jumping
was the name of the game?
It was really, yeah. I mean, she was obviously the major flag bearer for that time. We had a number of other decent jumpers as well. But yeah, I suppose in those early days it was. I mean, we always had the odd flat horse, and over time that sort of developed into a breeding program. But yeah, initially it was more focused on the jumps, I suppose, yeah.
That was always going to be the natural progression, I guess, the breeding side.
I think so. I think the plan was always to have a breeding operation, because we wanted to have a go at racing in these top class races and we knew that we couldn't really afford to go to the sales and buy yearlings for hundreds of thousands of pounds. So we thought that maybe the best way for us might be to breed them, and at the same time sort of create a bit of interest among the membership as well.
And talk about the interest in the membership, because it's gone absolutely crazy in recent years. Over 10,000 members.
Yeah, we have, and you know, a lot of them very loyal supporters, have been with us for a long time. You know, and there's always been a sort of horse that's captured the imagination. You know, originally My Sylve, then Soviet Song, Marsha, you know, so they've had plenty to shout about, and it's great that they enjoy it and they sort of love going to racing, but I think the breeding side of it as well is what makes it special.
We go back to 2004, 2005 with Soviet Song. You know, 2 amazing years for her. She was such a courageous filly.
She was amazing, really, and I suppose I'd been at the club for a year. She went into training the year that I started. So it was
a lovely year to start.
It was so bizarre because I thought, oh, this is what happens all the time. You know, you breed these Group 1 winners. So it was incredibly special and sort of a time I won't ever forget. But those years, 2004, 2005, were incredible, really.
And for you, her biggest success?
I think that day when she won the Falmouth, beating Attraction really easily actually on the day, was so special. I think no one expected Attraction to be beaten. I think it was her 9th run. She had an unbeaten run. She was sort of a wonder filly of the time, and then Soviet Song just absolutely cruised into the lead and won really well.
Won so easily, and you know, to beat, you know, such a well-fancied horse on the day, it was beyond anyone's expectation.
It was, I think, and I think at the time everyone was expecting Attraction to be probably the best filly we'd ever seen, and instead it was the start of Soviet Song's sort of golden summer, because it was the first of her 3 Group 1s that she won that year, and it was just incredible, really.
And she was awarded the older filly award as well for 2 years. Yeah,
very special. And the fact that she was a homebred as well just made it all the more sort of important to us, and it was a very, very special time for us.
They're set, they're off, and they're racing, and Attraction and Tiz Dubai, the first to break the line, and Attraction sent straight into the lead from Tiz Dubai in the all-blue colours. Monterani is 3rd, not blazing away in front here. In 4th, Illustrious Miss pulling hard against the fence out near side. Wide of her is Bakwa, then Favourable Terms, and Soviet Song is about 7 lengths off the pace, last of the 7 runners as they cover the first quarter mile. Attraction held together in front here in pursuit of her 9th straight victory in the hands of Kevin Darley. She leads the way by a little bit more than a length to Monterani in 2nd place. Tiz Dubai is 3rd, then Illustrious Miss, who refuses to settle, strains the reins in 4th place, followed by Bakwa. Favourable Terms getting a bit closer. They won't want to give this leader too much rope. She doesn't stop, and Soviet Song still held up at the rear. Attraction then leading well past the halfway stage here. Leads by about a length to Monterani. Favourable Terms is close to mount a challenge on the outside in 3rd. Illustrious Miss under pressure back, while Soviet Song is moving forward dangerously now. The challengers beginning to queue up. What can Attraction find as they run inside the final quarter mile? Attraction by a length and a half. Soviet Song, though, is quickening up smartly on the outside, and Attraction will have a fight today. They begin to meet the rising ground. Attraction on the far side. Soviet Song struck the front. Attraction trying to counterpunch, but Soviet Song looks too strong as they race up towards the line, and Soviet Song clears away to inflict the first defeat on Attraction. Soviet Song wins the Falmouth.
In a sport where winning is everything and losing is commonplace, it can play havoc with your mental health, especially as racing traditionally has favoured a stiff upper lip. A familiar face around Newmarket's yards and the British Racing School, chaplain to the racing industry Simon Bailey provides a sympathetic ear, a friendly smile and advice when needed.
I think a big chunk of what chaplaincy does, and myself as a chaplain, is I'm here to care for folk. I'm here to care for those staff that work in the industry, both on a yard scale and in the studs.
How would that differ in racing compared to the work you've done previously out in the wider world?
I think in the wider world, and especially from a church perspective, you work from a church, you open your doors and you hope that somebody comes through those doors. I think from a horse racing point of view, you want them to open the doors to you, and most of the time, you know, this sport does do that.
And I mean, the door is always open
It's
here at
open
the racing school,
yeah.
where you're regular here every week. During the time when the youngsters, whether they would be jockeys, they're just going to hopefully get a job in racing in whatever way. They're here for what, 2-3 months? How does it work?
So they're here between 9 and 14 weeks. For many of them, the first time away from home. So all that stuff that goes on around that. And I think from a young person's point of view, you know, they are away from home. It seems a long time to them. You know, it's only a short bit of time that they're here, but to them it seems a long time. They just need to know that there's somebody there that cares. You know, if they've got any issues, that they can go to somebody. I'm a little bit more independent, so what they tell me normally stays with me, and they can maybe share things that they wouldn't want to share with their mates.
And how much is it just you being here and being available and being in here? How much is interacting with the staff here at the school, and how much of it is just the youngsters wanting to come to you and have a chat?
I think just by being here each week, if I can get here each week, it's just being around the yards, being around the breakfast table, just being the face there. And I think over the weeks, staff and young people, they just learn to trust, I think, after a while. And it takes time, but you build up that trust, you know, and eventually they just come to you with their issues.
And what are the sort of problems you find they're dealing with these days?
Well, they're coming from home life. Social media now is big in this time, you know, in our lives. A lot of them think they've got a lot of friends, and maybe, you know, it's when they get into the big wide world of horse racing that they kind of know who their friends are. And you know, I think it's tough. You know, I think it's tough for them.
And mental health, of course, is such a big issue these days, and in conjunction with animal welfare.
Yeah,
that's something we've been tackling as an industry as a whole. But in what way is that impacting upon them and your work together?
I think from a racing industry point of view, they've tackled mental health well over the last 2 or 3 years. There's been a big push. We've had mental health awareness weeks over the past 3 years. We've been on courses, we go around yards, we go around studs. We really try and drive home the kind of mantra, if you like, that it's, you know, it's one thing to be fit from here down, but, you know, if your head's a bit messed up, that isn't great also. Through racing welfare, I became a mental health first aid instructor. So we now go and run out these 2-day courses. And I think it's key just to say to horse racing that we need to look out for each other.
Oh yeah, how are you? It's going well, is it? Your course going well? Yeah. Good, good. Keep smiling, keep smiling.
What was really interesting, both watching you interact with the youngsters, with the staff, but also just in our conversations as well, that religion didn't come up at all, faith didn't come up at all in any of those discussions. Does it?
It can do. I'm normally not the one to bring that up.
Sure.
I will talk about my faith. You know, I have my faith, and I'm quite happy to share that. But it really has to be, you know, whether I'm doing the one-to-one with, or, you know, group work with, if you like. Sometimes, you know, it has to be them to share. I'm just here to, you know, to be for them whatever they need me to be. And if that's just somebody that they just want to chat with, they've maybe got some issues at home, they've maybe got some issues here, you know, I'm just here for them, whatever's going on in their life, not always, you know, to pass over what's going on in my life.
There's kids here, we've seen in the canteen pictures of David Egan, Josie Gordon, Sheen Murphy. They're not all going to be superstar jockeys, are they?
They're not, and it's great to have those things up on the wall, you know, to inspire the young
Sure.
folk, the next groups that come
Sure.
in, and that's good. You can make it. You can be the next, you know, star of the sport. If you put the work in, you know, if you put the effort in. These guys don't just do that. They've put in a lot of work.
And so do you
to
feel,
get where they are.
yeah, and you know, the likelihood is, I suppose like in any sport, whether you're an apprentice footballer or whatever, the
Yeah.
likelihood is the majority of them hopefully will find a job in the racing industry. Is there like an aftercare for you in a sense?
There's always an aftercare.
Yeah.
You know, it goes on here, but it probably goes on in my role more once they go into their first job, once they're in their first yard. It's good to keep an eye on them. And it's good to cheer on their dream as well. You know, a lot of them aren't going to get to the top of the sport, but I like to cheer on, you know, a young person to be the best that they can be, I think.
And outside of the racing school, where are the other elements of your job? Who are the other people that you're seeing within the sport?
So I'm seeing yard staff, stud staff. I will do yard calls, stud calls. And again, it's a little bit like this. Once somebody sees your face around, I think you build up that trust, and it's very easy once you've built up a bit of trust and you've proven that you're responsible, you know, with whatever they've got to share with you. That as my work's gone on here in the industry, I get more and more calls. The more, you know, they've learned to trust me, I guess.
So what's the end goal? What's a sort of job well done for racing's chaplain, would you say?
I think in a perfect world, Alex, the job well done is if we can sort the sport out. I have no other phone calls because everybody's in a great place.
Yeah.
You know, a great place in their heads, you know, a great place in the sport, and I can just go away. I don't know, I'll go and lead church somewhere else, maybe. I'll do something else. But, you know, in the ideal world, you know, if everybody's okay, then I think we can pat ourselves on the back and say that is job done. But I think there's a lot of work to, you know, do before we get to that point.
Okay, well, keep up the good work.
I'll do my best.
After taking his chance this week at the July Festival, there will be additional targets afoot for David Simcock's Desert Encounter, including another trip over to Canada for a potential second Canadian International.
Listen, he came up through the ranks, late developing horse. He's danced some pretty tough dances, and he has to sort of turn up at Ascot in races that tend to be a little difficult for him. But from here on in, we'll be able to place him. He loses Group 1 penalty very soon, and we'll probably go down a very similar route to what we went down last year. He'll head to Newbury. We'll probably look at Windsor, head to Newbury again, and then probably off to Canada and see if we can repeat what he did last year.
And going back to that Canadian International where he faced Thundering Blue, and he wasn't the more fancied horse of the international raiders. Going into that, were you always confident that Woodbine would suit and that was the race for him?
It's a very European style track, and listen, we're realists. At the end of the day, it's probably Group 3 opposition in a Group 1 race that's very, very valuable. That's the way we look at it, and you know, if it's the same again, he'll be very competitive. He's not nowhere near really up to Group 1 standard. He's a genuine Group 3 horse, and but he's fun to have around. He's a little quirky, but he's very enjoyable. If he's still competitive and still got the zest for it, there's no reason why he shouldn't race on another year. Sheikh Zayed Road did, and he was still, you know, he was still good at 8. So there's no reason why he shouldn't. We're relatively careful with him. He hasn't had masses of racing, so you know, these horses are trained for longevity, and there's no reason why he shouldn't get another year.
That's it for the latest edition of This Racing Live. Thank you to everyone who opened their doors to us, and we'll see you on the July course.